It's beer o'clock on Real Ale Craft Beer. Today we're going to be showing you two Weissbiers from the two German discount supermarkets in the UK. Here we have Rheinbacher's Weissbier from Aldi, and here we have the Lidl Patronus Weissbier from Lidl. Both of these beers are coming in at 5% ABV. Both of them are coming in at 500ml bottles. And what's really interesting about this, because I just had a look on the internet, is that they're both coming in at £1.39 a bottle. So, same brown glass, same 5% ABV, same 500ml bottle, exactly the same price. Now these beers, about a year or two ago, used to be slightly higher in the ABV. I only know that because I used to buy, still do, buy the Lidl Patronus Weissbier. It used to be about 5.5% ABV, and it was absolutely fantastic. It was great. They've both since lowered the ABVs on the beers. They're 5% ABV. Maybe that's to do with the drinking trends in the UK. I worked in a bar for a good number of years, and anything over 5% ABV, the regulars, you had to twist their arm to order a pint. I remember I ordered in a keg of Worthington White Shield, or a barrel of Worthington White Shield. And it took a bit of convincing to sell to the regulars because it was 5.7% ABV at the time. But once I convinced them, once I said, try the White Shield, it's very good, and I explained to them why it's very good, I was ordering White Shield every single week. It's about, for me, breaking down the barrier of, ooh, it's 5% ABV. That means it's strong. And then the next thing you know, you see the person who's saying it's strong at 5%, they're cracking open a bottle of 12% wine. Happens all the time. Right, let's get these beers out into a glass and see what we get. So this is the Aldi Rheinbacher Weissbier. What I'm trying to ask is, are these beers brewed at the same brewery? Are they the same Weissbier? That's what we're looking for today. That's what we're going to be trying to kind of decipher. Are these beers the same, just from two different supermarkets? What I will say though, in terms of price, and it's the reason why these Weissbiers are always in my fridge, is that if you want to buy a Franziskaner or a Paulaner off the shelf, you'd be looking at the best part of £2 a bottle. And although I do love Franziskaner, and although I do love a Paulaner Weissbier, sometimes I can't always afford that. Sometimes there are times where I'm looking at my shopping trolley, I put a few burgers in there, a few sausages, and I go onto the beer aisle and I'm like, I don't have much money left. And that's where these supermarkets come in. That's where these supermarkets come in. Because you can get a relatively similar product for a lot cheaper in price. This is probably 61p a bottle cheaper, the Aldi Rheinbacher and the Lidl Patronus, than a bottle of Paulaner Weissbier or a bottle of Franziskaner. So let's start with the Rheinbacher then. We've got a 3-finger white head, good levels of carbonation. I would say slightly dark for a Weissbier. It's kind of a darker looking Weissbier. A Franziskaner would be probably a lot lighter than this in the colour. But it looks okay. Now the Lidl Patronus, so there we go. There's one answer There's one question that's been answered straight away. Is it coming from the same brewery? Judging by the colour of the beer, then I'm going to start off straight away by saying no. Unless it's from the same brewery and they've got a slightly different recipe, you can clearly see that the Lidl Patronus is slightly lighter. It's looking more like a Weissbier. So let's start with the Lidl Patronus and let's get the aroma. Something I picked up from these slightly cheaper Weissbiers is that when you put them up against a Paulaner or a Franziskaner, you get a slightly smoked malt aroma. The malt is slightly smoky. Still that banana, the clove coming through, but a little bit of smoked malt. Smells good. Let's dive in. Cheers, everyone. Little bit thin, little bit watery, but perfectly acceptable. Perfectly acceptable for a Weissbier. You're getting a touch of that kind of smoked malt coming through. Probably shouldn't be there, but I've always picked that up in the Patronus. Certainly since they lowered the ABV from 5.5% to 5% ABV, there's definitely that kind of slight kind of smokiness there. There's banana, there's clove. But it's a perfectly acceptable Weissbier. What I will say is it's a little bit too thin. Now, I've found a Majestic wine, and the reason why I mention this is because I've been going to Majestic wine and I've been buying 12 bottles of Paulaner Weissbier in a box, a little cardboard mini crate, 12 bottles in there for £21 for 12 bottles, so that's like £1.85 a bottle. Goes against the grain of what I was saying earlier on about £2 bottles of Paulaner. They're generally in Marks and Spencer's. But before that, I didn't know about Majestic wine. But what you definitely get from Franziskaner and what you definitely get from Paulaner is more of a creamy mouthfeel. You get more of that kind of premium Weissbier mouthfeel. These beers are a little bit thin. If you're Weissbier fans, then what you will find is that the Patronus, it tastes okay, tastes perfectly fine, but it's lacking that kind of wheat wrap, that creamy, rich mouthfeel that you get from a premium Weissbier. Rheinbacher Weissbier then, let's get the nose. A bit of sweetness coming through. A little bit of banana, a little bit of spiciness, a little bit of clove. Here we go. Actually, fair play. The Rheinbacher has a little bit more of that creamy wheat mouthfeel than the Patronus. I've never actually put them side by side like this before. I've gone to Aldi one week and picked up their Rheinbacher, then the week later I've gone to Lidl and picked up their Patronus, but I've never banged heads together like this before and actually put them side by side. This is really interesting because what I'm noticing, the lack of the mouthfeel from the Lidl Patronus is actually in the Rheinbacher. prefer the Rheinbacher. I personally prefer the Rheinbacher. It's got that classic wheat beer, creamy, rich mouthfeel. Then it's got that banana, the cloves, the spices. I mean, if you're on a budget, like we all are, this day and age, then maybe look no further. Maybe look no further than Aldi's Rheinbacher Weissbier. It's quite close to Patronus and, it's quite close to Franziskaner and Paulaner, and probably as good as Erdinger. It's probably as good as Erdinger is the Rheinbacher Weissbier. I'm quite surprised by that, because I will be perfectly honest with you, if I want to go to Aldi, I've got to travel 4 miles. If I want to go to Lidl, it's less than a mile. So I've been buying the Patronus because it's closer to my home. Maybe I just travel those extra 3 miles and then pick up the Aldi Rheinbacher, because it's a much better beer. It really is, really is. Lidl Patronus then, for me, gets... I mean, for the money, for that £1.39 price point, I'm talking 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 from Lidl Craft Beer. But the clear winner is Aldi's Rheinbacher Weissbier. It's got that wonderful creamy. Let's have a look at the lacing. Well, they both got some nice lacing on the glass. That's normally an indicator of mouthfeel, is the lacing on the glass. Oh, it's far and away the better beer. Far and away. That's for the money, for that £1.39, 60 pence a bottle cheaper than Franziskaner and Paulaner. Yeah, this is a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 from Lidl Craft Beer. I hope you liked the video. Please put your comments in the comments box. Subscribe to our daily beer and food reviews. Give us a big fat thumbs up. Boom. Cheers.